Memo toys, memo collectibles, memo toys, memo collectibles, memo toys, memo collectibles, memo toys, memo collectibles, memo toys.
What's up everyone? So today I'm bringing you another Hot Wheels video review, and this time this is going to be one of my favorite ones because I'm a big fan of the Cobra. Today I bring you the special commemorative edition Shelby Cobra 427 SC. Hot Wheels did a real good job to pay tribute to Carroll Shelby. The way this card is displayed, they did a real good job and I'm really impressed by it. So this is the front display of the card. As you can see, you got a picture of Carroll Shelby sitting in his AC Cobra. It's got his Carroll Shelby signature name. It also has the foundation that Carroll Shelby belongs to that he started. So here's a little preview of the back of the card. Now I have number 574 of 4000 and I also have number 573. Now on the back of the card, as you can see, it pays tribute to him. He passed away on May 10 of 2012. And also Hot Wheels proudly supports the Carroll Shelby Foundation and has made a donation in Carroll Shelby's honor. Hot Wheels did a real good thing with this commemorative edition. So now a little history about Carroll Shelby and about this Shelby Cobra 427 SC. Now before Carroll Shelby became American legend icon and brought us the Shelby Cobra 427 SC, he was a race car driver. Now before he did that, as he grew up, he actually enlisted in the army and was stationed in the European, where he was an aviator and a test pilot. It was there that he was intrigued by the GT circuits and the cars that they were racing out there. Now after he served his time in the army, he came back to the States and started to become an amateur race car driver. It was here in the States that he dominated the race circuit and he started making a name for himself. He also set 16-speed records domestically and overseas. Now pushing forward to 1959, this was going to be Carroll Shelby's highlight of his year. Now Carroll teamed up with Roy Salvadori and together they entered the 24-hour Le Mans race. It was there that they drove an Aston Martin DBR1 and they drove that to victory lane. Now soon after this victory, Carroll Shelby found out by his doctor that he couldn't race anymore. Told him that if he continued racing that he could probably hurt someone or hurt himself. So due to his heart condition, he had to hang it up. He did try to race one more year, which was in 1960, but he was not successful and he eventually just gave up and said, that's it, I'm done. He went back to the States and he opened a high performance driving school. It was there that he was teaching for a while, but then eventually he wanted to do something else other than teaching. Now in 1962, there was a car company called AC, Auto Carrier. They were looking for engines to put into their roadsters. Now they were very famous in the very beginning when they first started out. This year was the year that they did not have any motors to put in. Carroll sent them a letter letting them know that, hey, I have motors that I can put in your Ace roadster. That was the car that actually became later the Shelby Cobra. Now neither one of the companies knew that Carroll actually had a commitment between Ford and AC, so he kind of just pitched it to them. If you guys give me cars, I'll give you engines, and if you guys give me engines, I'll give you the cars. Now Ford guys are going to get a little upset, but Carroll Shelby worked for General Motors on the Corvette. Now for some reason, the relationship between the General Motors and Carroll Shelby did not work out, so they went their separate ways. So we almost had Chevy engines in these AC Cobra. Thank you Chevy for saying no. Now both companies came to an agreement. AC provided the Roadster car to Shelby. Ford company provided their new 260 small block engine. So AC went ahead and shipped two unpainted cars to Carroll Shelby. One of those cars was going to be the CX2000. These would become the MK1s. Now Carroll Shelby put a team together. He had hired Dean Moon. We all know him from those big eyes that he has on his logo of his cars. The other person that he hired was Pete Brock. He was a very good designer. He actually designed the Daytona. And the other person was Phil Remington. That guy, they was said that if you had wood, he could weld wood together. Now once they got the MK1 here to the States and took it over to Dean Moon's shop, put it together, and they only did one car. Now the other thing that they needed to do, they needed to sell this car. Now for Carroll to sell this car, he was bringing it to different magazines. And one of the things that he was doing, he was actually painting it and putting pinstripes. So every time a magazine got the car, they thought they actually had a new one, when in reality they only had one car that they made, which was the CSX 2000. Now thanks to Sports Car Graphics, they're the ones that put Carroll Shelby and his car on the front cover, and the rest is history. Now the MK1, they only made about 75 of these total with the 260 engine motor in it. 62 of them were street and the rest were all used for racing. Now the MK1 was put into the race alongside with the Corvette. Now at the beginning, Carroll actually pitched the line to Ford saying that, hey, you want me to build you a car that could beat the tails off of the Corvette? This was a perfect opportunity, and they were not very successful. Moving forward to 1963, AC came out with a new car called the MK2, and Ford came out with their new engine, the 289, which was rated at around 271 horsepower. Now the MK2, which is known as the Cobra 289, for the next 5 years pretty much dominated the Corvette scene, and this was a huge success for Carroll Shelby because he did not like to lose, and he always found and figured out a way to beat you. So this was a big success for him. Now they made about 580 of these cars, the 289. 453 of them were street cars. Now 21 of them were independently prepared for competition. These cars are actually the ones that car collectors want to get because they have a lot of history, they broke records, they're hard to come by, and they do go for quite a bit of money. So here it is, the MK3, the Shelby Cobra 427 SC. Now this car is the most replicated, the most popular, and one of the reasons why Hot Wheels decided to make this one the special commemorative edition. Now here's just a few reasons why this car is so popular and why Hot Wheels chose to put this as a special commemorative edition. Ford had just came out with the 427 engine. This engine was rated anywhere between 450 to 500 horsepower, depending on how you modify it. You can actually get even more power out of this engine. To accommodate that kind of power for this car, they had to change the 3-inch tubing to a 4-inch tubing. The whole car itself is made out of aluminum. The fenders in the back were made a little bit wider to accommodate the Salisbury rear end. The front end opening was made bigger so they could put a bigger radiator. Overall, the car itself was a little more comfortable to sit in because it was made wider. So here's another reason why this car is so popular. 348 of them were made. 5 of them were given to Paramount and they destroyed them. 260 of them were made to the public, but for some reason the public did not like them. They wanted a bigger car, which was like the Cadillacs that weigh like 6,000 pounds. For some reason they were not ready for these 2-seater roadsters. 20 of them were made for competition. Shelby kept one, and I'm going to tell you a little later why he kept that one. 31 of them were semi-competition, which is the one that you're looking at right now. Now the difference between the 19 and the 31 is that the 19 were actually made to race in competition, and the 31 were actually made to the public. Tuned them down a little bit so that way you can buy it, but you actually had an original 427. Didn't have any history, did not race anything, but was a street legal car. So that's my history about Carroll Shelby and this 427 SC Cobra. Now let's get a little closer look and look at the detail work. Do a quick 360 so you guys can check it out. As you can see, the inside has got real nice detail work. The steering wheel has been painted, tail lights are been painted, the wheels look awesome. At first I really didn't like the wheels, but now I can understand why they went ahead and put these wheels on there. There goes the front end of it. Now early in the video I had told you that Carroll kept one of the 427 competition cars. The reason why he did that was because he wanted to make a real fast car and street legal. Now for him to achieve that, he went ahead and put a twin Paxton supercharger to the V8. He also put a super 3-speed automatic transmission, and the results was 800 horsepower. Now this car only weighed 2,300 pounds, so you guys could imagine the kind of power and the kind of torque that this car really had. Now this car was one of a kind, model number CSX 3015. Now Carroll Shelby actually did make another car, and he made it for Bill Cosby, the comedian. That model number was CSX 3303. Now, Bill Cosby got the car, and it was too much for him to handle, so he gave it back to Carroll Shelby. That car ended up with another customer. That customer actually drove it off the cliff near the Pacific Ocean somewhere in California. Later on, that car was actually recovered and restored, but it has no value whatsoever. Super Snake was one of a kind, and it was in his personal collection, and back in 2007 he took it over to Barry Jackson, where it actually set a record and sold for $5 million. Now let's get a little closer and check out the detail work. As you can see, you got the side exhaust coming out, you got the fender flares on the side there, the badge on there says 427 Cobra, you got the Goodyear tires on there. I didn't like these wheels at first, but I actually think that they really came out and did a real good job, really compliment the car. You can see, I don't know if you can tell, it has the knockoffs like it originally had in the Cobras. So I think that came out real nice. The front end on mine is actually one of the headlights has like a little bit, I thought it was a little bit of debris, and actually it's a little bit of the blue paint that spilled over, but that's okay. And here's the other side. As you can see, it's got the side exhaust too on there and Goodyear tires. The windshield is actually clear. Now as you can see in the back, the tail markers in the back have a little bit of blue paint on it too. I thought it was debris, but It's actually blue paint. I don't know why it's on there, but that's what it is. Also in the back you have the Shelby logo foundation. And as you can see right by the fender above, that's where the gas tank, where you would put gas in this car. Alright, so I turned the car over to the side. As you can see, the badge 427 Cobra's on the side there. Here's the inside of the interior. The gauges have been painted, the steering wheel's been painted, the stick shift's been painted. Also, you got behind the driver's side the 4-inch tube harness to protect the driver. Well, I really don't know if this car got into an accident, if it really protect anything, but hopefully you don't get into an accident. Now in the back you can see it's got the logo for the Shelby Foundation, and those little rivets that are on the back of this car, it's actually so that way you could put a hard cover or a soft cover tops. Alright guys, so that's my video review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.